Good morning from AfricaCom 2025 here in Cape Town. I have the pleasure to be together with Honorable ICT Minister Samuel George from Ghana. Nice to meet you again.
Good to meet you.
And welcome to Cape Town.
Thank you.
On home soil, finally.
Yeah, the mother city.
The mother city. So you joined earlier today a fireside chat about Africa's digital future, policy priorities for AI, fintech and inclusion. What does it mean from a Ghanaian perspective and how can this translate as well to more Pan-African picture?
Well, I think that where we sit today, looking at the broader picture of how we are developing and deploying AI and all of those solutions and the policy frameworks around them, it's extremely important that we look at harmonized systems and platforms across the country, the continent, have interoperability amongst our platforms as well. And I think that it's extremely important that we, as African countries, begin to decide what are we using AI for and what are we going to do. From the Ghanaian perspective, we've got 5 key areas where we want to use artificial intelligence to better the lives of our people. Agriculture, that's going to help us with our food security. How are we putting AI tools in the hands of our farmers? How are we giving them, how are we extending agricultural services to them using artificial intelligence? How are we using AI to do precision farming? How are we making sure that they have access to commodity exchanges and using satellite imagery to help them do soil sampling and testing? Those are the kind of things we want to do with AI. In healthcare, we want to be able to extend telemedicine to underserved areas using our enhanced community information centers to be able to put doctors in those rooms via the power of 5G technology to be able to offer services with just a midwife or a nurse in the rural community. In the area of education, we want to make sure that we breach the gap and make sure that across the country, irrespective of what your demography is or your location, geographical location is, you have access to some of the finest educational material over the power of the internet in our information centers. In the area of finance, fintech, how are we driving digital inclusion? We're looking at financial inclusion happening for SMEs, which is driving the 6% growth in our GDP this year. And most of that is on the back of not your traditional banking finance, but SME financing that's happening on digital platforms. Third-party platforms are giving loans on just one mobile network to the tune of $200 million, you know, and that tells you the value of funds that are available to SMEs. And many of these SMEs will not have passed the KYCs for your traditional banks. And so then those businesses will not have happened. They would have died. And that would have affected the national economy. So how do we make the regulatory sandboxes more agile? How do we use AI to be able to do credit profiling and drop the 4% default rate to as close to zero as possible? That's not one thing we're doing. The fifth angle of what we want to use AI to do is governance. How do we bring about 16,000 government services to the people of Ghana in the palm of their hands, on their devices? How are we able to do that? I mean, we're looking at the Ghana.gov version 2.0 platform, and that's how we're using AI. So AI for us is about agri, health, education, fintech, and government services.
So it looks like AI is a huge accelerator for you across all sectors.
Look, I as minister look at AI not just as artificial intelligence, but to advance inclusion. AI could actually stand for advancing inclusion or advancing inequality. It's up to you. It's the policies you put in place that would either widen the digital gap or it would advance inclusion and close that digital gap. And that's what we want to use artificial intelligence to do. Again, one of the key things that we're looking at is our Data Harmonization Act. You know, and that allows us to be able to take big data from all the multiple data silos in the country, harmonize that and process that, and be able to do proper data mining and be able to make informed decisions for the Ghanaian people.
I remember our conversation earlier this year in Barcelona, and it still resonates with me what you said. We need AI from Africa for Africa.
Absolutely.
And it almost sounds like you took action, not only talk, real action. Do you think that priority has to be from a more localized AI perspective? We dictate how we want to use AI, where AI is, let's say, beneficial for us.
Africa has a very unique opportunity. The fact that AI is only as good as the data sets that train it. And so if you look at the youth bulge and the 1.4 billion people on the continent, that's a huge data set that's been untapped. If we are able to clean up that data and annotate that data properly, and we're then able to mine that data, we stand in a fantastic position to now begin to build the machine learning models that are going to model these AI solutions to an African context. And so I think that as governments, we have one critical role to play. That's cleaning up our data and labeling it properly. Then the opportunity that exists is for our innovators to then get access to that data and be able to innovate and teach the AI models with our African data to create African solutions. Because like I keep saying, look, the solutions to the problems in Accra do not reside in Barcelona or Paris. They reside in Accra.
I fully agree. I fully agree. So when we look at AI and policy, so policy plays a crucial role. We need policy and regulation in order to, let's say, almost put it in a frame where we're not harming people, because it's very abstract AI. We cannot touch, we cannot feel an algorithm.
Well, and that's where it's important that innovators realize that when policymakers are trying to put in place the guardrails, we're not trying to stifle innovation. And I mean, in Ghana, I've put out an Emerging Technologies Council bill that's supposed to regulate emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, IoT. It's not to stifle innovation. It's just to say that, look, let's have AI innovation in a responsible manner, in a manner that does not exploit the data sovereignty of individuals, that respects the fact that every human being is a data generation point, and that they must own and control how that data is used. And how you mine and utilize and monetize that data must be at the behest of the individual. And so AI must work for us and not us working for AI. And so when as policymakers were trying to create the guardrails, we're learning from the mistakes of those who may have taken the lead. Look at what's happening. I mean, you had the CEO of OpenAI go to the US Senate, Congress, and say, look, help us regulate because we no longer have control over this. Do we want to sit down and have that situation, or do we want to learn from the mistakes of those who have tried this ahead of us and then say that, okay, we're putting in place the guardrails for responsible AI use? And so in one of our universities in Ghana, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, we've got what we call the Responsible AI Lab, where we're coming up, working with academia to build the frameworks and the guardrails to say that, look, this is acceptable with artificial intelligence, this is not acceptable. So it's not just about innovation, it's about responsible innovation.
Thank you. That sounds quite impressive and very optimistic.
We'll do our best.
So what would you, if you could give our peers in Africa one recommendation or one, let's say, important step they have to consider when they try to approach AI from a governance perspective, what would it be?
It would be for us to, as African governments and policymakers, clean up our data, break down the data silos, harmonize your data, and know what you really hold. You know, the resource curse of Africa should not happen with our data sets and AI, where many African countries do not understand the full extent of the resource, the gold, the bauxite, the oil that is under our soil. And you've got investors from outside the continent come in and tell you, oh, you've got 10 million ounces of gold in this mine. Are you sure it's 10 million? It's not 15 or 20 million? They tell us what's in our soil, and we've been exploited for so long.
True. That's a very point.
It's important that we don't allow that happen with artificial intelligence as well. We need to clean up our own data,
We have to be
break down the silos, and own and control that data. Because big tech is coming.
Yeah.
They have no choice, they will come. Because Africa is going to be, 1 in 4 human beings is going to be African by 2030. And so they are coming here. But if we don't control that data, they will come and offer us the opportunity to clean it up for us and then define how the use of it. And what you'll have there is data colonization. Let's do our best to work and make sure that as Africans, as African governments, we're ready for big tech when it comes to our citizens' data. Else we'll lose the control of that data.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was-
Pleasure's mine.
That was Tech Africa News from AfricaCom 2025. You can find more on techafricanews.com.